On our wedding night, my husband told me the one he truly loved was Concubine's song of the household, and that he and I could never be together in this lifetime. He asked me not to use my status as the principal wife to make things difficult for Concubine's song. Angered, I lifted the bridal veil and gave him two choices: either we go together to meet his elders and ask him what he really means by saying that, or let Concubine's song come to see me, and the three of us will have this matter out in the open. He worries that I might bully Concubine's song, but I worry that Concubine's song, relying on his favor, might bully the principal wife. After hesitating for a moment, my husband chose to have Concubine's song come over. The three of us sat down and set 3 rules. First, Concubine's song is never to set foot in my main courtyard. If she enters, the fault is hers. By the same token, the same applies to me. Second, since my husband refused to consummate the marriage today, he need never consummate it for life. Third, if my parents-in-law inquire about the matter of heirs, he will be responsible for handling it. If I suffer punishment or loss as a result, he must compensate me. My husband's face turned icy cold as he angrily signed the agreement. From then on, he never again set foot in my chamber. Concubine's song, smug and triumphant, mocked me for giving up the best man in the world. They began their sweet, loving days together, but I was busy with my own life, too preoccupied to pay them any mind. 3 years later, however, my husband set foot in my main courtyard, his face a mix of hesitation and unspoken words. Then I knew he regretted it, and on top of that, he wanted to sleep with me. I said calmly, "Let's part ways." Zhao Yunju was stunned for a moment, hardly believing his ears. "What did you say?" I took out a divorce letter I had prepared long ago, my tone calm. "Sign it." My name had already been signed on it. It was written on our wedding night, after they had left, in the bridal chamber. I am a person of strong character, and there is no reason I should swallow the humiliation of being treated so unjustly. Yet, after the divorce agreement was written, the anger in my heart gradually subsided. Getting a divorce was indeed satisfying. But what comes after the divorce? What should I do? My parents do not value me. If I were to truly divorce and return home, they would immediately bundle me back to the Zhao family. At that time, I would only lose more face, and even my last shred of dignity would be scorned by Zhao Yunju. I silently signed the divorce papers, tucked them away, and chose to endure. I spent 3 years building what I have. Only today do I finally have the confidence to propose divorce to Zhao Yunju. Handing that thin divorce paper to Zhao Yunju, the page had already yellowed, a testament to 3 obscure years. Zhao Yunju reached out to take it, his fingers trembling slightly, his eyes dimming. He asked with some uncertainty, "Are you still upset about what happened 3 years ago?" 3 years ago, on the night of our wedding, Zhao Yunju did not lift my bridal veil but spoke to me through it instead. He told me he already had someone he loved, Concubine's song, who had long been brought into the household. He said Concubine's song was gentle and lovely, the most innocent person. He hoped I would accept her and not use my position as the principal wife to suppress her. Otherwise, I would only shame myself. He spoke harshly, as if I were the villain. A surge of inexplicable anger rose within me. I suddenly lifted the wedding veil and glared at him with fiery eyes, only to catch a fleeting look of amazement in his. But soon his expression cooled, and he asked coldly, "Do you understand now?" My eyes stung with heat, as anger and resentment surged all at once, nearly bringing me to tears. On the spot, I took a deep breath, forced back the tears, and demanded angrily, "When the engagement was arranged, I was never told you had taken a concubine." His gaze was fixed, and his tone unwavering. "I did." My heart sank. If his family said so, then the only ones who could be hiding it from me are my father and mother. No wonder they wouldn't let me go out while I was preparing for the wedding, saying the Zhao family had strict rules and that it would be a laughingstock for me to still be going out before the marriage. Even when I did go out, they made 2 maids accompany me and told me to go and return quickly. At that time, I thought it was because marrying into the prestigious Zhao family made them cautious, afraid that someone might sabotage the match. Only now do I realize it was because they feared I would find out that Zhao Yunju had a beloved concubine and would refuse to marry him. No wonder the renowned Zhao family would settle on a daughter from a modest household like mine. I quickly lifted my gaze, my eyes firm and resolute as I looked at Zhao Yunju. Zhao Yunju, I didn't know you had a beloved concubine. Had I known, I would never have married you, but now that I have, I came here to build a life. If you intend to favor your concubine and disown your wife, I, Li Suyi, will never agree. If you have the nerve, say such things in front of your parents. If they agree with you, then I will listen to you. I stood my ground. If I backed down today, my life would only become harder from now on. Zhao Yunzhou's expression was grim, and his lips were pale with anger. It was later that I found out Zhao Yunzhou was unable to persuade his parents to let him marry Song Lanzhan, who came from a humble background as a lean horse, a trained courtesan, so he had no choice but to take her as a concubine. Marrying a proper wife was forced upon him by his parents. Unable to do anything about his parents, he thought he could control me, and thus gave me this show of dominance. He said coldly, I didn't expect you to be so calculating. You knew full well my parents would never agree, yet both Lanzhan and I thought we could reason with you. My heart sank even deeper. If someone initially perceives you as a bad person, then no matter what you do later, it will be wrong in their eyes. I thought, let's just break it off. Since he wants to sever the bond between husband and wife, let it be severed completely and cleanly. I gave him the second option. In that case, please invite that concubine Song over so we can discuss this matter properly. You're worried that I might use my position as the principal wife to bully concubine Song, but I'm even more worried that concubine Song might rely on your favor to insult me. Lanzhan is not that kind of person. Zhao Yunzhou denied immediately. I let out a cold laugh. What I'm worried about is that you can't tell right from wrong. Zhao Yunzhou's face turned cold. Is this how you always think the worst of people? I said seriously. Let me ask you this. If concubine Song fell in my courtyard, whose fault would be the first thought that comes to your mind? Zhao Yunzhou, do you dare to speak your true feelings? I had been exhausted all day, with no food or water, and a splitting headache, so my tone was far from polite. Zhao Yunzhou's eyes deepened, and he remained silent for a long while. Probably he has come to realize that he will side with Song Lanzhan, not me. If he is not an impartial judge, then you cannot expect me not to have such concerns. He instructed the servant, go invite concubine Song. It was my first time seeing concubine Song, a gracefully slender beauty. Her appearance was striking, her demeanor ethereal, and her every movement carried a natural charm and elegance. Her lively eyes first swept over me with unfamiliarity, then landed on Zhao Yunzhou, instantly transforming into deep affection and joy. She greeted me with proper etiquette, saying, Madam. Zhao Yunzhou shielded her, saying, come here to me. Concubine Song glanced at me and stood behind him. He and she were the guardian and the guarded, and I stood opposite them, the villain in their eyes. Yet he had just said that I thought of him as a villain. I took a deep breath, planning to get it over with quickly. Since everyone is already here, let's make things clear. I agree to what you said. I will not use my position as the head of the household to pressure concubine Song. A gleam of joy burst forth in concubine Song's eyes. Zhao Yunzhou's expression also softened somewhat. You've come to terms with it. That's good, he said indifferently. I'll take Lanzhan home first. He rose and was about to leave. I called out to him. Wait, I haven't finished. I have 3 conditions. First, from now on, concubine Song must not set foot in my main courtyard. If she does, no matter what happens to her here, it will be her fault. Likewise, I will not step into her courtyard. If I do, it will be my fault, and I will bear full responsibility. Second, my husband deeply loves concubine Song, even going so far as to warn me on our wedding night for her sake. It seems he is determined to remain faithful to her. From now on, we shall treat each other with respect as husband and wife in name only, never in substance. Third, when your parents ask about heirs, I trust my husband will take responsibility. Making up an excuse is your affair. Even if you tell them what happened today, I will have no complaints. But if I am punished by your parents because of this, that too is your responsibility, and you will compensate me. With these words, a profound silence fell around them. Zhao Yunzhou's forehead veins bulged, and his expression turned fiercely grim. After a brief moment of surprise, a flicker of joy crossed concubine Song's face. She tugged at Zhao Yunzhou's sleeve and gently shook it. pleading silently. I picked up the brush and quickly wrote out 2 copies of the contract, signed my name, and then handed the brush to Zhao Yunju. His gaze was icy cold, like the frost of the 12th month. He said coldly, "You will not regret this." "I have absolutely no regrets," I said, my tone resolute and unyielding. He took the pen, wrote his name with a carefree flourish, then tossed it aside, leaving a dark ink stain on the table. 3 years have passed. I have no regrets. But he does. I lifted my eyes to look at him and said coldly, "Don't flatter yourself. You've never meant a thing to me. I want the divorce simply because I should have left long ago. It was only by dragging my feet until today that I finally gained the confidence to live on my own after leaving." Zhao Yunju was silent for a long time. He looked up and asked in an earnest tone, "I know I've treated you unfairly these 3 years, but hasn't living in my home been agreeable for you?" "These 3 years at the Zhao household, to be honest with myself, I'm still doing fairly well. My parents-in-law are reasonable." Knowing that Zhao Yunju was unwilling to consummate the marriage with me, they severely beat him and sent him to my room for me to take care of, hoping that this might foster some feelings between us. At that time, I actually admired Zhao Yunju a little. After all, he kept his word and didn't implicate me. To go this far for Concubine Song, he could truly be called a devoted man. I didn't want to defy my parents-in-law and incur their resentment, which would make my days in the Zhao family even harder. So I did not send Zhao Yunju out. I ordered a maid to bring water to help Zhao Yunju wash himself and apply medicine. But then Concubine Song knelt down outside my courtyard, her face covered in tears. She remained silent, merely kowtowing until her forehead bled. I stepped outside and said indifferently, "He is unconscious at the moment. Once he wakes up, I will have him carried to your courtyard." Concubine Song lifted her pale, small face and forced a smile. "I trust you, my lady. I just don't know if my husband will trust you as well." She suddenly knocked her head heavily on the ground in a kowtow to me, then let out a startled cry, clutched her stomach, and collapsed to one side, a patch of red seeping from under her skirt. She had suffered a miscarriage, and right outside my courtyard. It was the first time in my life I had ever encountered such a thing. I can't imagine someone using their own child as a pawn just to frame another person. I ordered someone to send Concubine Song to her courtyard, invited a physician to examine her, and then waited outside the door. My parents-in-law arrived. Seeing me like this, they seemed somewhat disappointed. "She's in such a state, yet you're still standing outside, without even coming in to take a look." I hesitated for a moment, then followed inside, hearing the doctor say that Concubine Song had miscarried due to kneeling for too long. Concubine Song, aggrieved, shed tears from the corners of her eyes. Her maidservant said indignantly, "It was the lady who set the rule, forbidding the concubine from setting foot half a step into her courtyard. It was because the concubine was worried about the young master that she had no choice but to kneel outside the lady's courtyard to beg her." My parents-in-law turned their heads and glared at me. A faint smile quickly appeared at the corners of Concubine Song's lips, only to be replaced by a look of tender sorrow. My parents-in-law punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall. I went inside the ancestral hall, but instead of kneeling, I lay down on the table and slept through the night. The hall was cold and gloomy, the chill seeping into my bones. I came to understand a truth. No matter how kind my husband's parents might seem, they are still Zhao Yunju's father and mother, who will only ever consider the Zhao family's interests. If I ever touched those interests, they wouldn't care whether I was innocent or not. When I came out of the ancestral hall, Concubine Song was waiting outside. Supported by a servant girl, she gave me a gentle smile. "Madam, some rules might as well be broken. After all, they weren't set by anyone of great importance." I heard that. "Madam's background is only different from mine by having parents. Yet some parents are worse than none at all. They only become burdens that harm their own daughters. Madam, your knees must hurt a great deal. Please take good care of yourself." She left triumphantly, and before parting, she winked at me. "Thank you, madam. From now on, the best husband in the world belongs to me." This miscarriage of hers made her parents-in-law feel guilty toward her and harbor resentment against me. Let Zhao Yunju feel more pity for her and more disgust for me. A single miscarriage, in exchange for so many benefits, quite a bargain. Unfortunately, she forgot one thing. I have a temper. When I first set those 3 rules, I genuinely wanted to stay out of each other's way. Since she is unwilling, then let it be war. Some despicable creatures need to be thoroughly defeated once before they learn who they must not offend. I first went to my parents-in-law and explained that the reason I refused to let Concubine's song enter my courtyard was that I feared if something happened to her there, my husband would blame me. The same logic applied to why I would not go to her courtyard. My husband and I already have little affection between us, and I fear that any further turmoil would extinguish what little remains. I also had no idea that Concubine's song was pregnant, and I imagine she didn't know either. If she had known, she wouldn't have come kowtowing outside my courtyard. The maid ran in to tell me as soon as she knelt down to kowtow. By the time I came out, she had kowtowed fewer than 10 times in total. I never expected her to be so frail that she would miscarry just from that. I've heard that those who raise cultured ladies often soak the girls in medicinal baths to make their bodies delicate. I wonder if that might have something to do with it. I am not trying to shirk responsibility, but I find this matter truly suspicious. I dare not simply bear the resentment and risk being estranged from you, my husband, and from my parents-in-law. I beg your understanding. The faces of her parents-in-law grew even more grim, and then they let out a long sigh. It seems you are also without good fortune. Take good care of Yunju. As long as you bear children early, this family will be yours in the future. They truly thought this way, traditional, rigid, old-fashioned, and self-styled as upright scholars. The most disgraceful thing of all was Zhao Yunju taking in a thin horse, a concubine of low birth. They desperately hoped that a legitimate wife from a respectable family would bear the firstborn son. If Zhao Yunju had shown me basic respect on our wedding day, perhaps I would have chosen that path. With my parents-in-law's support, life wouldn't have been too bad. Unfortunately, it was wrong from the very beginning. Zhao Yunju and I are destined to be impossible in this lifetime, and when it comes to undermining someone, I know how to do that too. Who would bother counting how many kowtows Song Lanjun made? It's all up to me to say whether she has difficulty bearing children. Who knows? But since she caused her own miscarriage, she can't blame others for thinking that way. Whether she was being calculating or not, no one in this world is a fool. She lost the child. Does she really think everyone will tolerate her like Zhao Yunju does? There will always be those who find her troublesome. I returned to the main courtyard. Zhao Yunju was already awake. When he learned that Song Lanjun had miscarried, he raised his hand and hurled the teacup at me. You are so vicious. I dodged lightly, and the teacup fell to the ground with a piercing sound of shattering porcelain. Watching the fragments splattering all over the floor, I said indifferently, if you keep making a fuss like this, I'll send you to Concubine's song. She just so happens not to need to observe her postpartum confinement, so she can take good care of you. Zhao Yunju stared at me as if he no longer recognized me. His face was as calm as still water, but his eyes held disappointment and anger. You have no heart at all. Wrong, I do have a heart, but they don't deserve my sincerity. Zhao Yunju moved into my main courtyard to recover from his injuries. He didn't want the servants to attend to him, so he deliberately sent me to do things for him. He sneered coldly. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? I must have given him too much face. I sat quietly drinking tea and reading, then sent all the maids away, letting him shout and holler as he pleased. When he angrily threw all the pillows off the bed, I let out a cold laugh. You're right, I do hope your wound heals slower, so you'll have to stay in my room longer. Then Song Lanjun will have to kneel outside my courtyard again, kowtowing and begging me to let you go. I wonder if she'll have another miscarriage this time. Zhao Yunju's face flushed with rage. Wicked woman, I couldn't be bothered with him, and I wouldn't let anyone pick up the pillow he had thrown on the floor that night. He slept without a pillow. Furious, he wanted to turn over, but that only pulled at his wound, making him hiss in pain. How ridiculous. I slept soundly through the night after that. He behaved himself and didn't say a single word to me, nor did he order me around anymore. He just wanted to recover as quickly as possible and leave. 7 days later, Song Lanjun couldn't stay put any longer. She came to pick up Zhao Yunju. She stood at the entrance of the courtyard and smiled as she looked at my doorstep. Sister, I'm coming in, She stepped inside in one stride. The two old women on either side shut the door the moment she stepped in, locking her maidservant outside, and I kicked her right in the backside. Her knees hit the ground hard. She toppled over onto the bluestone floor, cried out in pain, and turned her head to look at me in disbelief. "My lady, Lee Suyi, you're insane." Zhao Yunju limped out, and upon seeing the scene, lashed out with a livid face. I clapped my hands, and a maid immediately shook out a garment. Song Lanjan's face changed in an instant, her lips trembling. This was the dress Song Lanjan wore on the day of her miscarriage. She had a maidservant dispose of the clothes, but the fabric was of excellent quality, and the young maidservant couldn't bear to throw it away, so she decided to wash it and keep it for herself. When she was washing it, my people intercepted the clothes and took them to another doctor for examination. The substance on the clothes turned out to be chicken blood, not human blood. I said indifferently, "Concubine Song, these are the clothes you wore on the day of your miscarriage. Whether the blood on them is chicken blood or human blood cannot be decided by your doctor alone. I will have 10 doctors from different clinics brought here to determine for themselves whether this is chicken blood or human blood." Song Lanjan's face was pale, her gaze uneasy and pleading as she looked at Zhao Yunju. Zhao Yunju's shoulders drooped, his eyes cold and fixed on Song Lanjan. This was the person he had deeply loved. He had resisted all kinds of pressure for her, but now, she was also the one at fault. He saw through her guilty look at a single glance. Facing me, he no longer had any confidence or assurance. He spoke up. "Enough. What do you want?" 1,000 taels of silver, I said coldly. Zhao Yunju stared at me as if he couldn't believe his ears, then let out a cold sneer. "Good." I knew he looked down on me. Most of the betrothal gifts the Zhao family had sent to my house were kept by my parents for my brother's use. What was given to me was merely flashy but inferior in quality. I didn't actually have much in my hands. This is why, even after discovering that Song Lanjan had bribed a doctor to frame me, I still forced myself to endure it. Handing Song Lanjan over to my parents-in-law would only push Zhao Yunju and Song Lanjan closer together, but by handing him over to Zhao Yunju, I could get a substantial amount of silver and drive a wedge between them. If they're having a hard time, then I can rest easy. I continued. "Give me 500 taels first, then pay me 100 taels per month for the next 5 months. I wanted to annoy them for 5 months to make them feel disgusted by this matter every time they made a payment, ideally causing them to quarrel each time." "Good," Zhao Yunju agreed. He couldn't have withdrawn such a large sum from the account all at once. Enduring the pain, he walked down slowly and helped Song Lanjan to her feet. With tears in her eyes, Song Lanjan spoke softly. "Husband, I was just too frightened. I was afraid you might truly develop feelings for her, and that your parents would take her side as well. I was really too scared." "I know," Zhao Yunju said in a low voice. They helped each other as they left. I said, "Hold on, what now?" Zhao Yunju's voice was cold. I picked up a stick I had prepared earlier and suddenly struck Song Lanjan on the knee. She let out a piercing scream, clutching her knee as she crumpled to the ground, nearly dragging Zhao Yunju down with her. Zhao Yunju could hardly believe it, veins bulging on his forehead. He roared furiously, "Lee Suyi, don't think I can't do anything to you. Even if I divorce you, what can you do about it?" I let out a soft snort, utterly indifferent. "You and I agreed on 3 rules before. She is not allowed to enter my courtyard. If she does, she must bear all the consequences." I entered her courtyard, and she falsely accused me of deliberately preventing her from entering mine, which forced her to kneel outside my door and beg me. Because of this, my parents-in-law punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall. I accepted that. Today, she entered my courtyard. No matter how I punish her, she should accept her fate. Go ahead and divorce me. Then everyone will know that the Zhao family has a formidable concubine who drove the lawful wife to be cast out less than a month into the marriage. Father and mother can just find you a new wife who truly loves you, and your beloved concubines can compete for your favor. Then you'll be truly happy. Zhao Yunju's face turned ashen. His fists clenched tightly as he glared at me in fury. Song Lanjan clutched at the front of his robe, pleading, "Husband, I'm fine, let's go. I won't provoke sister again from now on." They supported each other, like a couple who had weathered many hardships together. I called out to Song Lanjan, Madam Song, since I have set the rules, they must be followed. If you intend to break them, I have plenty of ways to install several more concubines for Zhao Yunju." Song Lanjun looked back at me, and there was no gentleness left in her eyes, only venomous resentment. "Madam, I've taken note of what you said." Her body trembled with rage. As proud as she had been when she came, as flustered and hurried was she when she left. I stared at their retreating figures and let out a cold sneer. "Give Zhao Yunju a concubine, he doesn't deserve it. I won't let him ruin a daughter from a decent family. Not everyone has the ability to protect themselves like I do. In this world, there are far too many overly docile, well-behaved girls. If they enter this back courtyard, they'll only be ground down to half their life." Song Lanjun is foolish. She clearly could have done nothing, lived her own life peacefully, but she insisted on leaving me no way out. Then don't blame me for sending her to a dead end. Since then Song Lanjun behaved herself quite a bit. It took a full month for her knees to heal enough for her to get back on her feet. She remembered that lesson and no longer dared to flaunt herself right in front of me. Later, she realized that I truly had no feelings for Zhao Yunju, so she focused on living her own life, enjoying a honeyed period with him. But she didn't know that cracks had already formed between them in his heart. She was no longer the innocent, kind-hearted, pitiful girl pushed around by fate. And when external pressures faded, the conflicts within their relationship only grew larger. Zhao Yunju had 500 taels of silver sent over. This was the first silver I earned, which became my startup capital for business, enough to make mistakes slowly and learn from them over time. I accompanied my mother-in-law to banquets, built connections, and over 3 years gradually established a reputation of integrity, honesty, simplicity, and kindness, becoming Lady Zhao, a figure of widespread sympathy. Many people advised me to be more open-minded. Men are all like that, wanting to try everything, whether it's good or bad. Once he comes back to his senses, he'll realize how good you are. No, I didn't want him to look back. It was better that we went on peacefully like this. I smiled and accepted the other person's kindness, gave them some small gifts, said I liked them very much, and hoped they would come again next time. The other person left happily. This is just how I am. I fairly like every customer who comes to buy something from me, accept all their sympathy, and let them gain the sense of superiority that they're still doing all right. I serve my parents-in-law with care and watch my words and actions. My parents-in-law often regret that Zhao Yunju is blind to what's good. Letting go of such a fine daughter-in-law at times like these, I lower my head quietly and advise them not to interfere too much in Zhao Yunju and Song Lanjun's affairs. No one can stay on top for 1,000 days, just as no flower can bloom for 100. The more you interfere, the less grateful they become, even harboring resentment toward their parents. It's better to just let them be. My parents-in-law praised me for being magnanimous, but in truth, I harbor ill intentions, just like an anthill, where every ant goes about its own business on a normal day, but once a group of ants is thrown into water, they will tightly cluster together to fend off the external threat. Chaos within a family often stems not from external enemies, but from internal strife. Furthermore, it's easy to fall in love but hard to stay together. If they truly manage to love and stay together for a lifetime, I would actually admire them. Unfortunately, their love lasted only 3 years before falling apart. I looked at Zhao Yunju and said calmly, "I did live well in the Zhao family for 3 years, but that was thanks to my parents. What does it have to do with you?" Zhao Yunju raised his eyes, and a trace of sorrow emerged in them. "Suyi, don't be like this. Life is very long, and we still have plenty of time to get to know each other slowly. I will not sign this divorce paper." He pushed aside the divorce paper and, without waiting for me to say anything, fled as if escaping. I felt a bit troubled before. I worried about how to get by in the Zhao family. Now, I worry about how to get Zhao Yunju to agree to the divorce. Life is probably just like this. There's always a hurdle waiting at every moment, and nothing ever goes entirely smoothly. I don't know what Zhao Yunju said to my parents-in-law. My parents-in-law began to try to bring Zhao Yunju and me together. The banquet at old Madame Wang's, which I was supposed to attend with my mother-in-law, had Zhao Yunju waiting for me at the door instead. He gracefully extended his hand to help me into the carriage, but I ignored his hand and got into the carriage on my own. Instead of riding a horse, he followed me in and sat down across from me. I looked outside the carriage, where the crowd was noisy, but inside it was excessively quiet, and I could smell the scent of the person across from me. I frowned slightly. If you dislike someone, you end up disliking the smell of them too, even if it's a light, elegant woody scent, simply because it's worn by that person. It becomes tainted by your aversion. Humans are, in fact, very good at guilt by association. They don't like someone in isolation, nor do they dislike someone purely on their own. Zhao Yunju pointed to a restaurant outside the door and said, "That Mid-Autumn Festival. You guessed the lantern riddles right there and won the biggest lantern in one go. That was impressive. That was my first year in the Zhao family. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, celebrated across the whole nation, my parents-in-law asked me and Zhao Yunju to go out and enjoy ourselves. Once we left the mansion, Zhao Yunju went straight to find Song Lanjun, who had gone out early, and the two went hand in hand to the lantern festival. I didn't want to run into any acquaintances and be asked why I wasn't with Zhao Yunju, so I took my maid, changed into men's clothing at a ready-made clothes shop, made a slight disguise, and happily went off to the lantern festival. Everywhere there were games where you could solve riddles to win lanterns. As I walked along, I solved riddle after riddle, casually giving away the lanterns I won to the children. By the time I reached the largest restaurant, a crowd had already gathered at its entrance. I had long since forgotten what the riddles were. I only remember that after guessing the lantern riddle correctly, I won applause from the entire room. I casually handed the lantern to my maid, feeling a gaze fixed on me. I looked back and saw Zhao Yunju and Song Lanjun beside him. The smile on Song Lanjun's face faded. She tugged at Zhao Yunju and then turned to leave. Zhao Yunju looked me up and down, then followed in a daze. Afterward, everything was fine. No one reported it. No one blamed anyone. It was a small matter, long forgotten by me. But he always remembered it. Zhao Yunju continued, "I've never seen a woman dressed as a man look so heroic. You're more capable than many men. Actually, I had changed my opinion of you long ago, but I just didn't realize it myself." Suddenly, I understood the sorrow of talking to someone who just doesn't get it. He thought he was speaking from the heart, but I only found it noisy and irritating. Without a word, I said to him calmly before stepping off the carriage, "But my opinion of you has never changed." I went to the women's side, and he only went to the men's side after he saw me enter. Someone saw Zhao Yunju and teased me, "Congratulations, you've finally seen the sun after the clouds." I smiled and said, "He still can't compare to your husband. If he were even 1/10 as devoted as your husband, I'd be more than satisfied." Someone praised Zhao Yunju for his talent and good looks. I said, "Compared to your husband, I'm still lacking. How could I be as modest and gentle as he is?" I compared everyone who praised Zhao Yunju to their own husbands or sons, lifting them to the heavens while casting Zhao Yunju down into the dust. Someone gave me a nudge. "Stop talking, your husband is watching." I let out a soft laugh. Just telling the truth. On the way back, Zhao Yunju was not happy. His eyes were fixed on me, his tone heavy, comparing me to others and belittling me as worthless. "Does that make you feel better?" I looked up and quietly gazed at him. "Choosing me over Song Lanjun, isn't that also the result of your comparison?" Zhao Yunju's face turned pale. We didn't speak a word the entire way. When we arrived home and got out of the car, he took me by the wrist and, as if summoning courage, said, "I admit I have compared you too. I once liked Lanjun's gentle and accommodating nature, but later I found that very exhausting. She never seemed to have a mind of her own, always apologizing to me, as if I had let her down. I can tolerate it once or twice, but I can't keep tolerating it forever. She never grows up, and I'm exhausted. But you're different. You're brave and decisive, always full of drive. You're also very intelligent, always able to solve any problem. When I go out, everyone else brings their wives, but I bring a concubine. It's really not proper. I wasn't thoughtful enough before. I oversimplified things, thinking that sheer love alone could get us through all the hardships, but the truth is otherwise. Father and mother saw it more clearly than I did. They foresaw this outcome long ago, which is why they chose you as my wife. I was indeed wrong before. I didn't treat you fairly and pushed you far away. Now I regret it deeply, but it's too late. Suyi, give me a chance. Let's start over, let us remarry. This time, I will lift your bridal veil, make up for the nuptial cup of wine, and let you stand proudly as my wife. I will take you out with me, so that everyone knows you are my spouse. There had been many occasions that required a husband and wife to attend together, yet Zhao Yunju either went alone, or, on slightly less formal occasions, he chose to bring Song Lanjun along. I have been laughed at, Song Lanjun once proudly showed off. Now he says he can't bear the gossip, but I have already endured it. If I reconcile with him, what does all the suffering I once went through count for? Am I considered a glutton for punishment? Ha! I broke free from his hand and said coldly, Zhao Yunju, the one who hasn't grown up has always been you. It's not about getting whatever you want just because you want it. If you chose a sheep from the start, you can't expect that one day that sheep will turn into a wolf. That would be unfair to the sheep. I lifted the curtain and jumped off the carriage. He hurriedly chased after her, but stopped mid-motion as he lifted the curtain. By the carriage stood Song Lanjun, her face streaked with tears. She had arrived early the first time I was about to get off the carriage. I lifted the corner of the curtain and saw the hem of her dress. That's why I waited for Zhao Yunju to finish speaking. Now he could go and explain things to Song Lanjun. I strode away. Song Lanjun's voice came from behind me. She's still foolish. It was Zhao Yunju who belittled her, yet she targeted me. Li Suyi, what are you so proud of? Do you really think Zhao Yunju actually thinks highly of you? Ha ha ha, he used to say in front of me that you're hungry for power and status, and that you only see money. He said you disguise yourself as a man, which corrupts public morals, and he almost went to your parents to report you. I stopped him on your behalf. He hated how arrogant you are, even more competitive than men, and said that a woman like you would never be wanted if not for his parents' approval. He also said, woo-woo. Her mouth was covered by Zhao Yunju. She struggled, trying to pry his hand off. Unable to pry it off, she resorted to biting. Zhao Yunju's hand was injured by the bite. Wincing in pain, he exerted more force, and Song Lanjun was knocked to the ground. She was stunned at first, unable to believe it. Then she clutched her stomach, and within moments, sweat the size of beans beaded on her forehead. My stomach, it hurts so much. Blood began to trickle from beneath her skirt. This time, it wasn't the rank blood of a chicken, but thick human blood. Zhao Yunju panicked. He lifted Song Lanjun in his arms and shouted for a doctor. Song Lanjun, in a daze, seemed unaware that she was pregnant. Tears fell drop by drop from the corners of her eyes. I sent someone to fetch a doctor and went in person to invite a renowned physician. This time, Song Lanjun truly had a miscarriage. She noticed Zhao Yunju's emotional distance. She tried every possible way to please Zhao Yunju, but the tactics that had worked before were now useless. Instead, Zhao Yunju found himself gazing toward my courtyard more and more often. She panicked, completely unaware of the strange changes happening in her own body. At times she wept over her bitter fate, at times she reproached Zhao Yunju for his fickleness, and at times she seethed with hatred for me. Yet, having learned from past mistakes, she dared not act rashly again. I suppose this is the tragedy of being a teaching girlfriend. They are born and trained to serve men, regarding men as their superiors. Deep down, she feels inferior to men, yet she harbors an ambition to climb up the social ladder. Therefore, she will not blame the one who oppresses her. Instead, she will only resent others for winning the master's favor. Why shouldn't it be her? She desperately tried to destroy one opponent after another, but when she finally gained her master's favor, she would realize that she was nothing more than a plaything. That was when she would truly fall into the abyss. This time, I still waited outside the door. My parents-in-law arrived. My father-in-law glared at me. My mother-in-law slapped me. What do you have to say for yourself this time? Tears welled up in her eyes. She was truly heartbroken for this city. I covered my face, my gaze cold as I looked at Zhao Yunju. This is the mess you've made. Zhao Yunju was stunned and quickly said to his mother, "Mother, it was me. I was the one who pushed Lanjun. So what if I am?" Her mother-in-law scolded. "We brought her into this family to serve her husband and bear children, but she can neither produce offspring nor tolerate a concubine so full of pride. If she's that proud, she shouldn't have married at all. Marriage means enduring hardship. Her mother-in-law went to see Song Lanjan and scolded her once more. Cry, 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 that's all you know. Don't you know your own background? What respectable family would marry a lean horse as their lawful wife? But you refused to see reality, thinking that with your husband's affection you could rise to heaven. Well, did you? Don't forget. You're nothing but a captive pig. Even if a pig reaches the sky, it will eventually fall. You deserve this. If you had just obediently borne a child and not yearned for love, the Zhao family wouldn't have rejected you. If you make any more trouble, pack your things and get out. Song Lanjan's crying grew much softer. That day, after utter chaos, there was an ultimate stillness. The servants moved about in silence, afraid that any loud movement might disturb the master and incur their wrath. That evening, Zhao Yunju appeared outside my door, looking utterly exhausted. He looked at my face and said, "I'm sorry." I walked gracefully over to him, raised my hand, and gave him a hard slap, then slowly said, "It's okay." The slap was so forceful that it messed up his hair and turned his face to one side. He looked at the ground, his eyes filled with sorrow. What Lanjan said isn't true. It was me being contrary, me not daring to face my own heart. I was clearly drawn to you, yet I just wouldn't admit it. Actually, I started seeing you back then, Li Suyi. I'm a bit slow, so could you? I interrupted him. Zhao Yunju, let's dissolve our marriage. He pressed his lips together slightly and said nothing. His eyes were just a little red. 3 years have passed, and he remains a graceful and distinguished nobleman. Once I learned that I was to marry Zhao Yunju, I was astonished. I knew my family background was humble, and I was not a worthy match for him, yet my parents happily told me that the Zhao family had come in person to propose. Having taken a liking to my good looks and talent, I had known since childhood that my parents favored my brother, and he was not one to show much affection to his younger sister to get by under their thumb. I tried my best, pushing myself to become valuable and striving to earn some reputation for my talents. I also put effort into my appearance, dressing well to stand out. I know most people in this world are shallow. They don't have the time to truly get to know a person. The first thing they notice is looks, and only after a few interactions might they begin to understand one's character. By excelling in these two aspects, I brought pride to my parents, and even my brother started praising me in front of his classmates. When others complimented him for having a beautiful sister, he was utterly delighted. I have heard some rumors about Zhao Yunzhou's reputation, but I don't know the details, nor do I have any acquaintances to discuss them with. I thought his family's regard for me was the result of my own efforts. I once imagined living in harmony with Zhao Yunzhou. I also dreamed of having a warm home, with a child or two. I will never be like my parents, who only favored my brother. I will give my daughter the good life I never had, where she doesn't need to please anyone to be loved, but is cherished simply for who she is. But all my dreams shattered on the day of my wedding. Every day since, I've told myself, one must rely on oneself, rely on your parents. Most of their hearts have already been taken up by my brother. Rely on my husband. My husband may love someone else. Rely on my parents-in-law. They will only consider their own child. Someone else's child is not in their hearts. This is human nature, and I cannot go against it. I cannot blame them for being unfair. The only one I can rely on is myself. Zhao Yunju thinks that over these 3 years, he has been slowly seeing me. Little did I know that over these 3 years, I would gradually see reality clearly and slowly distance myself from them. Reality turned out to be no different from what I had imagined, and I have already gained the confidence to leave. Sometimes I feel fortunate that he gave me a wake-up call on our wedding night, allowing me to see the truth early on. Otherwise, I might still be drowning in love and stuck deep in the mire of his household. I continued, although my mother-in-law hit me, I do not resent her. One saying is true, if I had unyielding pride, I should not have married, because marriage means enduring hardships. She was right. I am indeed not suited for the Zhao family, and what you need is not a wife like me. If you still have any heart left, then sign the divorce agreement. If you insist on forcing this, there will only be mutual destruction. Zhao Yunju took the divorce agreement with trembling hands. I led him inside, handed him the brush, and watched as he struggled to steady his hand, signed the divorce agreement, then tossed the brush onto the table. It rolled a few times, leaving thick ink stains on the desk, a scene so similar to when he signed the contract 3 years ago. 3 fleeting years, like a great dream, all in vain. He said, "You are free." I put away the divorce papers, ready to have them registered early the next morning. As he left, he asked reluctantly, "Do you hate me?" I said calmly, "Mr. Zhao, I envy you. At your age, the only thing you have to worry about is love, but I have much more to worry about. I have to worry about survival. Making a living, 3 meals a day, and my future. What has always been in front of me is the struggle for survival. No one will go all out to catch me if I fall. I can only rely on myself." But he was different. With such a family background, such wealth, such adoration, he could lie in the lap of luxury, savor endless romance, and sigh at the bright moon hanging high, shining on everyone but him. I could not. I could only accept that having love was my good fortune, and lacking it was my fate. Romance and affection were never vital to my life, survival was. He asked me if I hated him. I couldn't bring myself to hate him. He is just a fleeting passerby on my life's journey. I will be busy with my own life, leaving behind my parents' lack of love and my husband's affection for someone else. I will move forward and never look back. After the divorce, I moved out of the Zhao family home. My parents-in-law did not come out to see me off. Zhao Yunju was still in bed, hungover from the night before. I bought a small courtyard and directed the maidservants and older female servants to pack up my belongings and move them all there. Instead, it was Song Lanjun who came to see me off. That fall had been quite serious, leaving her weak and sallow-faced. Though the early summer sun was warm, she still wore a cloak and was supported by a maid. Looking as frail as ever, she opened her mouth as if to say something. I turned my head away, refusing to look at her. I pitied her, but there are plenty of pitiable people in the world, and her misfortune is not my doing. She wronged me, and I got my revenge. That settles the grudge between us. If she had taken to heart what Zhao Yunzhou's mother said that day, she might still have a place in the Zhao family. If she remains stubborn and refuses to see reason, she will eventually drive herself into a dead end. I do not have the magnanimity to tolerate someone who provokes me time and again, nor the patience to reason with her. Everyone meets their own fate. No one is an exception. After leaving the Zhao family, I established a household headed by a woman and continued to run my own shop. My parents once advised me to return home and remarry. They were confident they could arrange a better match for me. I invited them in, smilingly shut the door, then clapped my hands. From every corner of the courtyard emerged a dozen or so men and women, all brawny and exceedingly fierce, eyeing my parents with ill intent. The looks on my parents' faces changed dramatically. I invited them to sit on the stone benches in the middle of the courtyard and personally poured tea for them. I know that my parents want me to go back, not necessarily out of genuine concern for me, but only to marry me off again and get more betrothal gifts. Other families treat their daughters the same way, so I don't blame you for thinking like that. It's just that I've been married once before, and I know how hard it is to live on someone else's terms in their back courtyard. Don't even think about it. I'm not going back with you. If you insist on forcing me. How many legs does my brother have? I counted on my fingers. 1, 2, 3. My brother must have 3 legs, to be able to break them 3 times. Father and mother flew into a rage, slamming the table as they stood up. How dare you be so unfilial and disobedient? I stood up and looked at them with an indifferent gaze. In our dynasty, the law allows a divorced woman to marry as she pleases, and even her parents have no authority over her. If you both behave well, I am willing to support you for the rest of your lives. If you insist on going your own way, then I will sell the shop, break my brother's 3 legs, and run far, far away so that you will never find me for the rest of your lives. Her parents left in disappointment and sorrow. They are very sad. They truly believed I should remarry, and they were angry that other daughters were so obedient while I was not. But I think that it is precisely because I am disobedient that I can live a good life. I plan to do the opposite of whatever they say from now on. They want me to marry someone, so I will definitely not marry. They want me to befriend someone, so I know that person is someone to stay away from. If they praise a certain family as very good, then I know it is a pit of fire. How is this not being obedient? Later, I was running my own shop. Someone came to propose marriage. I shook my head and sighed. Wounded by love, unwilling to marry again. Others said I was hopelessly devoted. These words reached Zhao Yunzhou's ears. He might have taken them seriously, coming to take a look outside my shop, but the moment he saw the genuine smile on my face, he knew it was all a joke. Catching my gaze, he fled in haste. It was the shame of feeling he shouldn't be there. I found it laughable. Later on, Zhao's mother arranged another marriage for Zhao Yunzhou. At first, he disagreed. Zhao's mother could probably tell that what he wanted was me. This time, instead of indulging him, she gave Zhao Yunzhou a hard slap across the face and scolded him harshly. Do you think I chose Li Suyi after much deliberation for no reason? What I valued was her character, worthy of being the matriarch of a noble household, but you had to go and drive her away. Now, how can you afford to be picky? If it weren't for our family's acceptable status, do you think any daughter from a decent family would still be willing to marry you? Zhao Yunzhou felt dejected. He pleaded with Mother Zhao for 3 years. He wanted to put off marriage for another 3 years. He devoted himself to studying, hoping to achieve scholarly honor. He thought to himself that once he made something of himself, he would then ask Li Suyi for her hand in marriage. By then, he would have already turned over a new leaf, and Li Suyi would forgive him. They would always rekindle their lost love. He had mentioned these things to others. These words eventually reached my ears through various channels, but I just smiled faintly and didn't take them to heart, because I won't wait for him. If I meet someone suitable, I might take in a son-in-law. If not, a fleeting romance would also do, but I won't say it, only do it. Truly ruthless people don't go around proclaiming things before they act. Song Lanjun didn't wait for him either. She had probably realized that Zhao Yunzhou couldn't be relied on, nor could her parents-in-law. Only by bearing a child could she secure her place in the inner courtyard. But Zhao Yunzhou was already tired of her and stopped touching her, so she watched the calendar, drugged Zhao Yunzhou, and became pregnant with his child. Zhao Yunzhou's Dao heart nearly shattered after this upheaval. He felt as though many things had deviated from their course, as if there were too many matters in this world that he could no longer control. 3 years later, as expected, he failed the imperial examinations. This time, his mother did not indulge him and arranged for a formidable young woman to enter the household. That young woman seeks not love and affection, but only wealth and high status. Zhao Yunzhou sadly finds himself reduced to a mere childbearing tool after his wife gives birth. She doesn't even spare him a single glance. He has become the one person in this household that everyone, down to the dogs, despises. Yet just a few years ago, he was still praised as a graceful and refined gentleman, whom countless women wished to marry. Fate had veered off its course ever since he accepted the lean horse as a gift from his friend, only he did not know it at the time. One day, he wandered into my shop. A young gentleman, blushing, said he wanted to read my palm. I held out my hand for him to see. He carefully took my hand, his cool fingers gently brushing across my palm like a feather plucking at my heartstrings. I smiled slightly, and the moment I looked up, I saw Zhao Yunzhou. Their eyes met. He nervously averted his eyes from mine, but I just let out a soft laugh and turned my attention back to listening to the young gentleman speak. When I look back at the bleak place where I once stood, there was neither wind, nor rain, nor clear skies. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The entire capital is abuzz with rumors that I and my archrival, the Crown Prince, are a match made in heaven. On the day of the imperial marriage decree, I kowtowed loudly before the emperor, Uncle Ji. Even if every man in the world turned into a yellow dog, I would never fall for Ji Xian. Ji Xian followed right after. Father, I would rather become a monk than marry her. When I woke up, I found myself 5 years in the future. It seems I not only married this guy but also gave birth to 2 kids for him. The air was filled with the pleasant scent of sandalwood. When I woke up, I felt a slight metallic taste in my throat and a sense of thirst. While still puzzled, a pair of hands swiftly yet gently reached over to wipe my face. However, these hands were unusually cold, and the moment they touched my chin, a shiver ran through me, forcing my eyelids open with great effort. Thank heavens, the Empress has finally awakened. Quickly, go outside and inform Physician Jiang and Physician Zhong, Qingyuan, bring the ginseng soup at once. Qingyun, the princess consort has awakened. Quickly send someone to inform the emperor. I only vaguely heard the sound of footsteps and responses in the room, which were quite numerous. I was a bit confused about the situation. How did I end up in the Guanju Palace instead of my bedroom in the general's residence after waking up? Moreover, there was a circle of palace maids surrounding me, all with worried and anxious expressions on their faces. I was lost in confusion when a young eunuch hurried over and knelt beside me. "Your Majesty, the Emperor has arrived." My face showed only 2 words: bewilderment. Me, the Empress? No way. While I was still in a daze, a person dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe walked in. That guy was clearly Jiyu Xian. He grabbed my hand in an instant. He was wearing a bright yellow robe embroidered with a soaring dragon over turbulent seas. His sharp eyebrows and starry eyes looked especially cold and stern. The gaze he directed at me was as devoid of warmth as usual, and his expression seemed somewhat gloomy. Oh my heavens, who set up this prank? Don't they know that if Uncle Jiyu finds out about this, someone's going to get beaten to death? And on top of that, this guy and I are sworn enemies. How absurd of him to trick me into thinking I was the Empress. I glared at the person in front of me with annoyance. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, so I simply pushed him aside and tilted my head up at him. "Jiyu Xian, we agreed to go see Tuanzi and Yuanzi. Even if you don't want to see me, you don't have to jump into the lotus pond." The man's voice was rather cold, deep, and slightly magnetic. It was somewhat different from Jiyu Xian's clear and bright tone. It gave me a feeling that was both unfamiliar and familiar. I took another careful look at the man in front of me. I hesitantly called out, "Jiyu Xian, what do you want? Just kill me with a knife instead. I really can't bear to watch you hurt yourself over and over just to leave me. I'm really starting to lose it with this kind of mutual torment." I had never seen Jiyu Xian like this before. As the crown prince, he had always been proud and exceptional since childhood. I had never seen him in such a pitiful and humble state, with such fragile and vulnerable eyes. However, after all, we grew up together as childhood friends. Seeing him like this, I wasn't feeling too great either, but after getting a definite answer, I got carried away and thought all of this was an act orchestrated by Jiyu Xian with others. I said bluntly, "Don't you have anything better to do, teaming up with them to pull this stunt? Who made any plans with you?" Hearing me say that, Jiyu Xian became a bit anxious. "Tuanzi and Yuanzi are sick." I thought for a moment and confirmed that I had never heard these names before. These names somehow share a similar charm to that of Big Yellow Dog. When did you secretly get other dogs behind Big Yellow Dog's back, Shensheshu?" The man in front of me suddenly and inexplicably flew into a rage, looking at the maids kneeling on the floor, trembling like quails. But I just found it utterly baffling. "Jiyu Xian, did you take the wrong medicine tonight? This prank is really boring." Noticing that something was off about me, the maid beside me, who had been keeping her head down, immediately grabbed my hand. "Your Majesty, it might be that when she accidentally fell into the lotus pond today, she choked on water and has been somewhat disoriented ever since." This statement was clearly meant to excuse me, but upon hearing this, Jiyu Xian immediately called the imperial physician to examine my head. "Your mischief should have its limits. If Uncle Jiyu finds out later, watch out for your skin." Jiyu Xian didn't speak, but instead looked at the imperial physician who was taking my pulse. "How is the Empress?" The physician lowered his head and replied, "Her Majesty's body is not seriously ill, but her head may have been hit when she fell into the water, which is why she has this symptom of amnesia. Amnesia, if you misdiagnose, I will have your life." Hearing this, I had no choice but to quickly grab Jiyu Xian's dragon robe sleeve and whisper, "Jiyu Xian, what madness is this? This is going too far. I had just turned 15 this year. I had just refused Uncle Gu's arranged marriage, and after returning home to sleep, for some unknown reason, I ended up in the Guanju Palace. Not only did my rival say there was something wrong with my head, but he also teamed up with a group of people to claim the same question. Should I give him a couple of slaps later to snap him back to his senses? Oh no, it was my 2 slaps plus Uncle Gu's kick. He actually dared to say there's something wrong with my brain, and even dared to wear the dragon robe. Who would have thought? That bastard Jiyu Xian didn't care at all about what I said. He stared fixedly at me, a hint of madness gleaming in his eyes, just like the little wolf my brother raised for me. His low voice still carried a hint of obsession even though it was June. I could hear the desolation of autumn in his words. Shunshu, have you really forgotten? You're not pretending, are you? I looked at the plea and longing in Jiyu Shen's eyes, feeling a little confused. In the end, I could only sit on the couch, patting Jiyu Shen's hand soothingly as I tried to reason with him gently. Wait, aren't we supposed to be rivals? Stop looking at me with those affectionate eyes. Ever since I finished speaking, Jiyu Shen had been staring at me without saying a word. I looked at the palace maids and eunuchs kneeling all over the floor. The scene was truly awkward. I could only poke Jiyu Shen's waist. It was his most vulnerable spot. Every time we fought, I'd poke him there. All right, wherever you want me to go with you, I'll go. Just don't look like you're about to fall apart. It's really unsettling to see you like this. As soon as I finished speaking, a flicker of surprise passed through Jiyu Shen's dark eyes. After dismissing everyone, I had the palace maids change me into a golden gown embroidered with phoenixes and a flowing yellow ancient patterned butterfly cloud water skirt that trailed along the ground. Hiss, isn't this the style of the Empress Aunt's clothing? If I wear this and act alongside Jiyu Shen, will she blame me? The palace maid draped me in the misty gauze of peonies and green clouds, and as I looked at myself in the full-length bronze mirror, with my hair styled in a high cloud-like bun and adorned with the 5 phoenixes facing the sun pearl hairpin, I felt both familiar and strange in an instant. Jiyu Shen, upon seeing me after I was dressed, quickly stepped forward and took my hand, leading me outside. The man's large hand was dry and warm, firmly holding mine in his palm. After all, I'm still a young girl. I could feel my face growing slightly warm, and my heart was pounding uncontrollably in my chest. For a moment, I lost control and wanted to shake off his hand, but he quickly led me to the Ruehua Palace, where I used to stay during my time in the palace. Through the bed curtains, I could see a little girl lying on the couch. Jiyu Shen seemed much calmer now, though he still hadn't let go of my hand. His tone remained indifferent. Yuanzi will be very happy to see you when she wakes up. I didn't respond, but I thought to myself, as the life of the party, who wouldn't be happy to see me? At the same time, I keenly sensed someone slowly approaching me. I immediately turned around, and the little boy froze in place, proudly clasping his hands behind his back as he looked at me. Those big, watery eyes blinked at me. Oh Tilda, my heart is melting. I couldn't help but lean down and pinch his little cheek, so soft. Wow, Jiyu Shen, he looks exactly like your proud and silly self when you were a kid, like he was carved from the same mold, but he looks much cuter than you did. This child looks so much like you. Is he your little brother who was lost outside? Or your illegitimate child? I felt like I had discovered a new continent and was just about to ask Jiyu Shen for confirmation, but when I turned my head, I met Jiyu Shen's gaze, which looked at me as if I were a fool. Shunshu, he is your child. Hearing this, I felt as if struck by lightning and stood there frozen in place. Suddenly, the little boy next to me hugged my leg. Does mother really not want Jinyi anymore? Hearing this, I looked at the little boy in front of me and the face of the little girl on the bed. The little girl looked exactly like I did when I was a child. Are they really my children? When I realized it was true, I went cold all over and fainted. When I woke up again, the sky was already bright. What woke me was not an ideal, but the gentleness of the little palace maid. Qingyun, Your Highness, it's time to rise. His Majesty will be coming to dine with you after the morning court session. My first reaction was to look around, but I soon fell silent again. I was still in the Guanju Palace, which used to be the residence of Jiyu Shen's mother, the Empress, but now it's me lying here, listening to Qingyun's voice, with no desire to get up, just staring blankly at the carved canopy above the bed. Until Jiyu Shen came in, I couldn't help but throw my arms around him and start wailing. Wah, Jiyu Shen, how did I wake up 5 years older? A whole 5 years, Jiyu Shen, even though we've been rivals since we were kids, considering we've fought our way into some kind of friendship over the years. Let's sign a temporary truce for now. Jiyu Shen held me in his arms, his gaze complex. It seems you really did hit your head when you fell into the lotus pond. Hearing him say that I wasn't right in the head, I gritted my teeth and glared at him. Then I bit his arm hard. Since I was little, whenever I couldn't win a fight, I would bite him. He stared at me in a daze. The next moment, he smiled and held me tightly in his arms. After having breakfast with Jiyu Xian, I wiped my mouth with his sleeve and looked at him. Tell me, what exactly happened in these past 5 years? Strangely enough, after confirming that I had truly lost my memory, Jiyu Xian's mood improved significantly. He no longer wore a perpetually gloomy expression, as if I owed him a fortune. Now, the corners of his lips often carried a faint smile, and he had returned to his former proud and slender crown prince demeanor. His expression was as irritating as ever, and his words were just as annoying. In short, you fell in love with me, pestered me relentlessly, and waited outside the Eastern Palace every day to confess your feelings, saying you couldn't live without me in this lifetime. You even threatened to squat outside the palace gates like a big yellow dog if I refused. I couldn't resist you, so I reluctantly gave in. Then, the emperor arranged our marriage. A year after we married, he abdicated the throne to me and left with the empress to enjoy their lives. We had these 2 children. Our son's nickname is Tuanzi, and his formal name is Jiyu Jini. Our daughter's nickname is Yuanzi, and her formal name is Jiyu Jining. But you, fickle as ever, stopped cherishing me once you had me. These nicknames are so silly, they sound like a big yellow dog's name. I couldn't help but mutter under my breath upon hearing the children's nicknames. I said the same thing back then, but you insisted on giving it that name. As he spoke, he pretentiously wiped away non-existent tears. With the background scene of the 2 kids beside him calling out Mother Empress in unison. Seeing this, I was completely speechless. Jiyu Xian, you might as well just tell me straight that my brain is broken. How could I have begged and pleaded to be with you? Jiyu Xian's face darkened at my words, and he shoved the 2 little ones into my arms. Then tell me, how did these 2 come about? Jiyu Xian actually used the children to argue back. Look at Tuanzi's eyes, they're so much like yours. And if not Tuanzi, just look at Yuanzi. She's practically a carbon copy of you. After thinking it over, I blurted out, oh, I see, Jiyu Xian, you sly fox, you must have forced me. Hearing this, the man's expression instantly turned grim. All right, Jiyu the fox, I was just joking. After a long while, Jiyu Xian's eyes swirled with emotions I couldn't quite decipher, but his gaze toward me gradually grew intense. Actually, you were the one who forced me. Impossible, absolutely impossible. I was so startled that I dropped my meal. Instinctively refuting him, Jiyu Xian gave me a faint glance. Do you have any proof? No, I haven't. That's how it is. The witnesses are me, the victim, and these 2 kids. I was speechless, to be honest. I really never expected I would end up with this nemesis of mine. If it weren't for the ironclad evidence of 2 kids, 5 years ago, I had just come of age, and the entire capital was spreading rumors that Jiyu Xian and I were a match made in heaven, and that I was certain to become the crown princess. After all, the story of the general's legitimate daughter and the crown prince growing up together has been sold countless times in the market. The number of people shipping me and my rival Jiyu Xian could line up hand in hand around the moat 6 times. But that very night, before the palace banquet even began, Jiyu Xian and I launched into a back-and-forth verbal battle. I accused him of being arrogant and overconfident, always wearing a sour expression, and said only a sycophant like Big Yellow would ever like him. He retorted that my colorful butterfly-pleated skirt made me look like a peacock flaunting its feathers, utterly self-absorbed, and claimed only a shallow, fawning fool like Little White would ever hover around me. Big Yellow is the dog I rescued from the West Market, now serving as the royal guard dog at the Eastern Palace Gate. Little White is the young fox he hunted in the eastern suburbs horse track, now my beloved pet in the general's residence. Our verbal sparring didn't stop just because the banquet had started. I exposed his childhood fear of the dark, how he once got lost in the palace at night and clung to me, crying loudly. He called me out for pretending to be a lady by taking small, delicate steps, only to end up tripping all the time. We spent the whole evening bickering with each other. As a result, the emperor, Uncle Jiyu, and the others looked at us with strange expressions and immediately decided to arrange a marriage between us. Upon hearing about the arranged marriage, I dropped to my knees with a thud and kowtowed loudly before the emperor. Uncle Jiyu, Even if every man in the world turned into a big yellow dog, I would never fall for Jiyu Shen. If I were with him, I'd be bullied to death. Upon hearing my words, Jiyu Shen immediately followed up, "Father, I would rather become a monk than marry her." And so, the matter of the arranged marriage was dropped. After that, we started arguing again over our mutual disdain, thinking that one night of arguing with Jiyu Shen would be enough, but 5 years later, we ended up arguing for several more rounds over who forced whom. After having the nanny take the children back, Jiyu Shen carried me back into the inner chamber. The next day, a glimmer of light appeared on the horizon. Exhausted, I lay sprawled on the bed, drifting in and out of sleep. Meanwhile, Jiyu Shen had changed into a bright yellow dragon robe and crown, looking spirited and ready to attend the morning court session. Slowly, I raised a finger to point at him, my voice even hoarser than the day I had fallen into the water. "Jiyu, you sly fox, it must have been, definitely you, who forced me." Jiyu Shen straightened his court robes, looking at me with a radiant smile that swept away the gloom of the past 2 days. For some reason, seeing his smile made me inexplicably happy, but I didn't know why. Could it be just because I realized that, 5 years later, I seemed to be doing quite well? My thoughts drifted aimlessly as a young palace maid came over to help me freshen up. I looked in the mirror and was utterly shocked. That damn Jiyu fox is a dog in disguise. My neck and hands were a complete mess. "Jiyu fox, you're nothing but a dog." I stared at the impeccably dressed man in front of me, suppressing the urge to slap him. Seeing how furious I was, Jiyu Shen took the comb from the maid and began gently combing my hair. "What's wrong? Last night you..." As I thought about the absurdity of last night, I wondered, is this what adult life is really like? You, shut up." Seeing my face flush all the way to the tips of my ears, he grinned so wide it looked like his smile might reach his ears. Chuckling to himself, he got ready to head to court. Jiyu Shen leisurely let down my hair. "I'm going to court. I'll come back and have a proper discussion with you once I'm done." "I don't want to." I immediately refused. Upon hearing this, he paid no attention to my protest, pinched my cheek, and left. I gritted my teeth as I watched Song Yangchu leave. When I was young, I was always bullied by Jiyu Shen. Now that I'm grown up, I'm still always bullied by him. I knew it. Marrying him would definitely mean being bullied. Life is so unpredictable. A young girl in the prime of her youth suddenly becomes a married woman and has 2 kids, leaving me completely caught off guard. I am doing my best to adapt to life 5 years later. According to the young palace maid Qingyun, my father and mother have gone on a long journey with the retired emperor and his entourage. My brother has moved with his wife and their entire family to the borderlands, leaving the general's mansion empty. Even though I already knew my parents were such free-spirited people, the unfamiliar feeling of not having a single relative nearby in the entire capital still sends chills down my spine. Qingyun also told me that in all these years in the imperial harem, I was the only woman. No wonder all of Jiyu the fox's temper was directed at me alone. After some thought, I decided to go to the Eastern Palace today to see the 2 extra little ones I have, Tuanzi and Yuanzi. Tuanzi is the older brother, with a somewhat proud and cheeky personality, very much like Jiyu Shen when he was young. Yuanzi is the younger sister. Lively and adorable, exquisitely delicate and charming like a little kitten. Just like me when I was a child, holding one of their tiny hands in each of mine, I carefully grasped their little hands. Afraid of hurting them, Yuanzi threw herself into my arms. "Mother, you've never held me like this before. You're so gentle today. Can you be like this from now on?" Yuanzi isn't greedy. "Just hold me like this once a day, okay?" Looking at this little darling before me, I don't know what I did in the past to make these 2 little ones so desperate for my love, but the memories of the past 5 years are like a thick fog to me. I can't see anything clearly, and as for the future, I have no idea how to go on living. I was pestered by my 2 little darlings until it was time for dinner. After having dinner with them, Yuanzi ran over and hugged me tightly, pressing her chubby little face against mine and nuzzling it. "Mother Tilda, can you sleep with Yuanzi tonight?" I gave Yuanzi a big kiss on the cheek. "All right, Mother will hold you to sleep tonight." Hearing my words, the little one snuggled contentedly into my arms. The little bun sitting nearby, however, appeared particularly aloof. Even though he was trying to act like a proper older brother on the surface, he was still just a little kid at heart. The anticipation and longing in his eyes were impossible to hide. "Would you like mother to stay with you tonight, little bun?" I asked patiently. Upon hearing this, Twanzi's face immediately turned red. After I gave him a smacking kiss, I also pulled Twanzi into my arms. He shyly snuggled into my embrace, but still proudly insisted that he was only willing to sleep with me to keep his little sister company. Amused, I prepared to take them to wash up and get ready for bed. Unexpectedly, as soon as I turned around, someone pulled me into their arms and kissed my forehead. Startled, I looked up and realized it was Ji Yuxian, whom I had stood up. My face instantly flushed bright red, and I quickly pushed him away. "Ji Yuxian, watch your behavior. There are still 2 kids here." Hearing my words, Ji Yuxian not only showed no sign of embarrassment but even kissed my cheek again. "Your esteemed Majesty the Empress, we are husband and wife. Our affection is meant to create a warm family atmosphere for the children, and accompanying me is also a duty you, as the Empress, must fulfill." I gritted my teeth and said, "You're so glib, you're twisting the truth." Ji Yuxian looked at me with a smile in his eyes, the corners of his lips almost reaching the back of his head. "Could it be that the Empress feels she's at a disadvantage for being kissed by me? Well, you're more than welcome to kiss me back. I don't mind at all." Looking at that unbearably smug expression, I couldn't help but feel the urge to bite him a couple of times. Our eyes met. I saw those captivating eyes of his swirling with ambiguous emotions. Just like last night, this guy was planning to bully me again. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. The same person, still as annoying as ever. Thinking of this, I actually calmed down completely. 5 years later, it didn't seem so terrifying after all. At least this guy hadn't changed, still in need of a good scolding. "Didn't you say back then that you'd rather become a monk than marry me?" Taking advantage of Ji Yuxian eating dinner alone, I sat nearby and asked, "Yes, what about it? Then why did you still marry me?" I instinctively asked, but after a glance from the man, I suddenly remembered that I could no longer outwit this guy and quickly changed my tone. "Did you only realize later that you've fallen in love with me, and so deeply at that? 5 years ago, this kind of pathetic state was something I had never experienced in front of my rival, Ji Yuxian." I couldn't help but feel a bit resentful that I had ended up in the palace just like that. Don't I have my own ideals and ambitions? Why didn't I become a female general? Ever since I learned to walk, I've loved wielding swords and spears. My marksmanship is quite renowned in the army. Although I can't beat Ji Yuxian, my physique is top-notch. It shouldn't have led me to only become an empress. "No, your ambitions have changed," Ji Yuxian said calmly. "What did I become?" The man suddenly lifted his head, gazing at me affectionately, and without a hint of shame, uttered a single word, "Me." It took me a few seconds to process what I had just heard. Once I realized what he meant, I immediately demonstrated the martial arts skills I had honed back in the day. That night, the bed in the Eastern Palace's inner chamber was a bit crowded. I held Yuanzi in one arm and Twanzi in the other, while Ji Yuxian slept alone at the edge of the bed. Let him go. Under the guise of building rapport, he stubbornly insisted on staying here. "You said your father would definitely like this 5 phoenixes facing the sun spear, right, Mother Empress? Are you sure it's not that you like it? Your eyes are practically sparkling." There was a hint of helplessness in Twanzi's tone of voice. I couldn't put down the spear in my hands, turning it over and over as I examined every inch. Hearing those words, I immediately retorted with righteous indignation. "Nonsense. It was your father who wanted it. That's why he sent me here to pick one out." The little one was utterly bewildered by this explanation. Just as I lifted the spear tip, ready to show my child what it means to wield a spear like a coiling dragon, I accidentally knocked over the rack next to the armory. As I instinctively shielded the little one beside me, a slender figure stepped forward and blocked the path behind me. He was dressed in the shadowy attire of the hidden dragon guard, his face concealed by a black mask, revealing only a pair of sharp, piercing eyes. After a series of crackling sounds, I stared at the mess on the ground and quickly thanked the man. Unexpectedly, he moved even closer to me. "Sure, didn't you say you wanted to leave this place with me?" I was utterly confused by these words. "Buddy, who are you?" The man's sharp eyes were fixed on me, with an unexpectedly affectionate look. He didn't answer my question and instead kept talking to himself. Shua, have you really lost your memory, or is this just a temporary act? The two of us standing there like this was really quite awkward at the same moment. Twanzi, having come to her senses, tugged at my sleeve. Mother, seeing that the situation was taking a bad turn, the unfamiliar man grabbed me and said, "Tonight at the hour of high. I'll be waiting for you at the usual place." As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished in a flash, leaving me utterly bewildered. Oh my God, could it be that, 5 years from now, not only am I married to my archrival Jiyu Xian and have 2 kids with him, but I've also given him a cuckold's hat? I think there must be some misunderstanding here. Although I've lost my memory, I firmly believe, and I guarantee with my character, that I am definitely not the kind of person who would have an affair with another man unless that scoundrel Jiyu Xian deeply hurt me, and I must have done it just to get back at him. I took Twanzi back to Guanju Palace. While Jiyu Xian hadn't returned yet, I searched every corner of Guanju Palace, including my dowry. I only found a jade pendant engraved with the character Yao. There was also a locked sandalwood box. Beyond that, I found no other information about that unfamiliar man. When I asked about the origin of the jade pendant and the locked box, the palace maids and eunuchs knew nothing. If I pressed further, they would kneel and tremble like quails. I don't know how I could be connected to someone from the Hidden Dragon Guard. The Hidden Dragon Guard has always been the dedicated protectors of the Emperor and Crown Prince throughout the generations. As for that locked sandalwood box, Qingyun said I brought it from the General's manor, and the key is held by the Emperor. It's not allowed to be opened under normal circumstances. At this point, I pieced together the whole story in my mind. It's highly likely that after marrying Jiyu Xian, he grew tired of the old and favored the new, revealing all his despicable behavior. Not only did he try to tie me down with a child, forcing me to abandon my dream of becoming a female general and resign myself to being a weary, resentful woman in the inner palace, but he also locked away all my valuable dowry, not giving me a single coin, trapping me firmly within the deep palace walls. That's why I've been feeling so gloomy. I took the chance to find a handsome young hidden dragon guard to get back at Jiyu Xian. I even thought about running away with this hidden dragon guard, but then I accidentally fell into the lotus pond, suddenly lost my memory, and it threw everything into chaos. In the evening, I sat on the chaise lounge with my eyes half closed. Jiyu Xian, having finished his official duties, came back and noticed something was off with my expression, so he cautiously asked, "Did you happen to meet someone you shouldn't have today? Oh dear, better pass the buck quickly." I immediately stood up and confronted him. "Jiyu the fox, did you send someone to secretly follow me?" Seeing my anger, Jiyu Xian softened his tone for once. "It's just a hidden guard. You've had incidents before. I'm just worried." Excuses, pure excuses. I reached out my hand. "Give me the key to the sandalwood box. What's inside belongs to me." He had just mentioned the sandalwood box when Jiyu Xian's expression suddenly changed. "Shushu, Twanzi and Yuanzi are both here. Don't scare them." He lowered his voice and then led me into the inner chamber. I thought he would explain once we were inside, but the moment I stepped through the door of the inner chamber, the man pinned me down on the couch with a click. The palace maid outside very perceptively closed the door. Only a few dim palace lanterns were lit in the inner hall, and the surroundings were utterly silent. I could even hear my own pounding heartbeat. Jiyu Xian's large hand caressed my face, his eyes dark as he looked at me. He lowered his head and slowly leaned closer to my face, so close that I thought he was going to kiss me, but instead, he didn't kiss me. He bit my cheek. "Shunshishu, don't ever think of using anything to make me leave you." The distance between us was so close that I could clearly see the madness churning in his eyes. "I find this guy's state quite strange, someone who acts so arrogant yet is so fragile." I was about to say something harsh, but when I saw the look in his eyes, as if he were about to shatter, my tone inexplicably softened as I spoke. "But you can't just use your status as the emperor to tie me down in the deep palace with a child, not only preventing me from fulfilling my ambition of becoming a female general but also withholding the money in my chest, forcing me to become a resentful woman trapped in the inner court, worrying about everything. Ji Yuxian paused for a moment upon hearing this. Then laughed. You really are an ungrateful one, Empress. What in the harem has ever caused you any worry? The palace maids and eunuchs handle the cooking and cleaning. You're carried in a sedan chair even when strolling in the imperial garden. The children are cared for by their governesses and taught by the grand tutor. And there are no other women in the harem to cause you trouble. And withholding your money, isn't the key to the palace treasury just lying in your dressing case? All you do every day is admire the flowers, play with the birds, and feed the fish. How have you become a resentful woman trapped in the deep palace? As for becoming a female general, that's a demon you've created in your own heart. In the past 5 years, the sight of weapons has brought you pain. I don't want you to suffer. And that chest, if you wish to open it, go ahead. I'll have someone bring the key tomorrow. His voice was low and hoarse, sounding as if he was coaxing me. I lowered my head, not wanting him to see my burning red face. Oh, I'm sorry, it seems I misunderstood you. But who would have thought that Ji Yuxian had no intention of letting me off? He gently kissed my ear, his murmuring voice so hoarse it felt like he was tempting me. Shush you, please don't leave me again. Okay, I can give you anything you want. Please, stay by my side. These confessions instantly made me blush to the point of explosion. I really want to bury my head in the blankets. I truly can't imagine how Ji Yuxian, who 5 years ago wore a cold face every day, spoke with an arrogant attitude, and never missed a chance to shut me down, has evolved to the point where he can make me explode with excitement anytime, anywhere. The man moved closer to me, his voice suggestive. Are you shy? I am not, I mumbled with my head buried. Even your neck is flushed red. The man's voice was clearly laced with amusement. Hearing that, I instantly looked up in flustered anger, glaring at him. He laughed as he delivered his final conclusion. Even my shushu has moments of shyness. Embarrassed, I clenched my fist, wanting to give him a couple of hits, but just as I raised my hand, a dart suddenly flew in and, with a whoosh, embedded itself in the pillar of the hall. Attached to the dart was a note. Ji Yuxian picked up the note. Although he tried to avoid my line of sight, I still caught a glimpse of the words clearly written in black and white on the paper. Sure, I've been waiting for you. Have you forgotten what he did to you? You are my wife. I stared fixedly at Ji Yuxian, hoping he would offer some explanation for this, but he remained silent. The sky grew darker, and his gloomy expression was hidden in the night, making it hard to see clearly. We stood in a stalemate for who knows how long, and just as I was about to ask, Ji Yuxian also spoke. Don't worry too much, I'll have someone find him. Tomorrow, I'll have someone deliver the key to the box to you. With that, he turned and left, leaving me no room to ask any questions. Oh dear. Everything is back to square one. 5 years later, life hasn't become any easier for me. Instead, it feels like every step is fraught with peril. I've made up my mind to investigate this matter myself. So far, Ji Yuxian has only said that the person was an assassin and hasn't revealed anything else. I thought he didn't take this matter seriously. It seemed as if he wasn't worried about that mysterious man at all. But in the following days, Ji Yuxian's behavior, much like a loyal guard dog, made me realize he wasn't as calm as he appeared on the surface. On the first day of hunting the assassin, Ji Yuxian used the excuse of protecting me properly to linger in the Guanju Palace, refusing to leave. He'd rather sleep on the chaise lounge for the night than go back. On the second day after catching the assassin, Ji Yuxian brought me my favorite weapons, the 5 phoenixes facing the sun spear and the purple star 7-star spear. On the third day after catching the assassin, Ji Yuxian took me to the training ground and told me he had organized a spear battalion for me, so I could come here to train soldiers whenever I felt bored. The 4th day, the 5th day, it was only then that I realized this arrogant Ji the fox was actually trying to win me over. The Ji dynasty has allowed the Kingdom of An to stand strong for over 100 years. With Ji Yuxian's ascension to the throne, the dynasty has not only become more stable but also more vibrant. 5 years ago, the neighboring Kingdom of Hong was still eyeing our country with hostility, frequently sending troops to wage war. Now, however, Hong no longer poses any real threat to An. I had previously heard from Qingyun that the Kingdom of Hong had sent an envoy to establish friendly relations. Now, the gifts that Ji Yuxian occasionally prepares for me are one of the few joys I have in the palace. Just as I was looking forward to what Ji Yuxian would bring me today, he arrived at my Guanju palace empty-handed. When I entered, I deliberately took a good look at him, thinking he might be hiding something behind his back to surprise me, but there was really nothing at this point. I thought his fawning, golden retriever-like behavior had come to an end, unexpectedly. After dinner that evening, he shamelessly squeezed his way onto my bed. It's already dark outside, shouldn't the Empress keep me company and give me some sweetness too? Before I could throw a punch at him, the two little ones on the bed caught their shameless father red-handed. Father is so grown up, yet he's still afraid of the dark. How embarrassing. Yuan's soft, sweet voice chimed in. Tuanzi, as the older brother, took the opportunity to add another jab at his father. Father, you're kind of acting cute and coquettish here. It was rare to see Ji Yuxian being teased by someone younger than him, his face turning red and then pale. I kindly tried to ease the tension for him. Your father has been afraid of the dark since he was a child, back when he got lost in the temporary palace. As soon as it got dark, he would throw himself into my arms and cry. So don't make fun of him anymore. I watched the tall, 8-foot-tall man sitting somewhat awkwardly on the edge of the bed. I glanced at him while holding Yuanzi. All right, Ji Yuxian, you can come up, but you still have to sleep by the edge of the bed today. Unexpectedly, Ji Yuxian was even more shameless than I had imagined. He directly asked the palace maid outside the hall to take Tuanzi and Yuanzi to the side hall. I could hear Tuanzi and Yuanzi softly calling for their mother, but Ji Yuxian had already pinned me down on the bed. Ji Yuxian, what exactly are you trying to do? Do you want me to forget all those things that person wrote? Have you done something that hurt me? I've been investigating in the palace these past few days, but the scope is too large, and everything seems perfectly normal. I even sent letters to my family far away, asking what exactly happened, but so far, I haven't received any news at all. Moreover, I've been out of touch with my family for almost 5 years. My older brother was transferred to the borderlands 5 years ago as well. Coincidentally, that was the same year Ji Yuxian and I got married. It seems just as he said, I've developed a mental demon, which is why I get a headache whenever I try to recall the past. What exactly did you do? Did you demote the general's manner just to threaten me into marrying you? You're the one who knows how to threaten people. Ji Yuxian immediately retorted upon hearing my words. His reaction was intense, as if I were about to threaten him again. But if I truly threatened to leave, why wouldn't he let me go? This forceful attitude was nothing like the carefree Ji Yuxian I remembered. Ji Yuxian lowered his head, seemingly suppressing some emotion. I guessed he might be on the verge of revealing the truth, so I waited patiently. When he raised his head again, his face was as red as a fool's. Do you really want to know? I nodded. Ji Yuxian continued. Actually, it's because you loved me without realizing it. That's why, after refusing the Emperor's marriage arrangement back then, you were so depressed that you schemed to get me drunk. Hearing this, I was almost frightened out of my wits. After we got married and I ascended the throne, perhaps I became too preoccupied with my duties, which made you feel neglected. That's why you sought amusement with a little guard. This is my fault, and I won't let it happen again. But after all, we are husband and wife, and we even have 2 children now. You can't go looking for other men anymore. Hearing these words, my world fell into chaos. It felt as though countless threads were tangling in my mind, but in an instant, the question I had always wanted to ask but never dared to voice burst out of me uncontrollably. Then do you like me or not? Shunshu, I love you. This time, it was my turn to blush all over my face. Even though I had adapted to life 5 years later for a while now, I still couldn't quite handle Ji Yuxian's straightforward approach. Soon, it would be the farewell banquet that Anguo was hosting for the envoys from Hongguo. Ji Yuxian initially refused to let me go, saying that my mind hadn't fully recovered yet and attending the banquet would be too exhausting. But with my coquettish pleading and repeated assurances, he still brought me along to attend. This banquet was held as usual at Yuanqing Palace. Holding Yuan's hand, I went to the banquet together, looking up to see the double-eaved hip and gable roof covered with yellow glazed tiles. By the time I arrived at the banquet, it was already about to begin. No matter how beautiful the clear and melodious music of strings and bamboo instruments was, After listening to it for so many years, I had grown tired of it. I couldn't help but yawn. Seeing that I was sleepy, Ji Yuxian held my hand under the table and asked if I wanted to take the child back to Guanju Palace to rest. Looking at this boring banquet, I was just about to agree. Suddenly, someone from the banquet stood up and proposed a toast to me. Long live the Empress. Surely, Your Majesty won't refuse this toast from me. The prince. I took a closer look and, oh my, those sharp eyes. It was none other than the hidden dragon guard who had shielded me from the weapon that day. How did he suddenly become the prince of the Kingdom of Hong today? I never expected that the lover I had chosen would turn out to be the prince of an enemy nation. I could guess that the dragon guard who didn't wait for me wouldn't give up easily, but I never expected that a secret lover would dare to confront me directly. He was still dressed in that inconspicuous manner, wearing a black python robe with wide sleeves, his face half covered by a silver mask. Even with only half his face visible, his striking handsomeness was undeniable. After all, he is a prince, and his imposing presence is not lacking. The foundation of his face is quite good, but the moment I recall Ji Yuxian saying he is my secret lover, I can no longer entertain any improper thoughts about him. Your Majesty the Empress, is it that you don't wish to accept me, or is someone forcing you to reject me? Before I could respond, the man glared directly at Ji Yuxian beside me. Seeing the sparks flying between their gazes, as if a battle was about to ignite, I decided to make a quick escape. I haven't been feeling well lately, so I won't be drinking this glass of wine. I hope everyone enjoys themselves, but I'm really not feeling well and will head back now. With that, I left with Yuanzi. I dismissed the palace attendants who were following me and had my aunt take Yuanzi back to Guanju Palace first. Then, I wandered aimlessly through the imperial garden alone. I thought about the fervent gaze the Prince of Hong had directed at me and the ambiguous words written on that piece of paper. Could I really have betrayed Ji Yuxian just as I was feeling troubled? A hand suddenly pulled me into an embrace. I looked up and saw that it was the Prince of Hong. Frightened, I quickly pushed him away and saw the shock in his eyes. It seemed he had held me like this many times before. He was about to lay his hands on me again, so I quickly dodged and stepped further away from him. Your Highness, it is never right to break up someone else's family. I am the rightful queen of this nation, and Ji Yuxian is my legitimate husband. Whatever happened between us before no longer matters. My maids will be back soon, so you should leave now. Mentioning the term husband made me feel inexplicably shy, but the person before me sarcastically repeated, Ji Yuxian, your husband, and I am the Prince of Hong Kingdom. You used to call me Yuan Yao, sure. You used to hate it the most when people called you Empress. What's wrong with you? Did that despicable scoundrel Ji Yuxian give you some kind of love potion? I could only go along with it and casually said, I've lost my memory. Song Yuan Yao, in a fit of anger, removed his mask, revealing his true face, handsome and refined, though a scar on the left side of his face lent his features a touch of madness. Only then did Song Yuan Yao understand. Sure, Ji Yuxian is the one who has caused you so much pain. Your parents' departure and your elder brother's exile to the northern frontier, it was all Ji Yuxian's doing. If you stay here, you may never see your family again. How could that be? Uncle Ji Yu and the others have never done anything unjust to my family, I retorted directly. That's because when the Kingdom of Hong invaded, the royal family had to rely on your Shen family's influence to quell the war. Otherwise, how do you explain the complete lack of news from your parents all these years? The sheer amount of information in these words was a bit overwhelming, and though I didn't fully understand, it still struck a chord in me. It's true that I haven't seen my parents for 5 years, not even a single letter. I have nothing more to say, but Song Yuan Yao continues to escalate. Similarly, Ji Yuxian doesn't like you at all. Back when the old emperor arranged a marriage between you two, and you both refused, the war between our two nations intensified. Even you followed your father onto the battlefield, clad in silver armor and riding a chestnut horse. I spotted you at first glance on the battlefield. I look at this somewhat unfamiliar face before me and ask, have I met you before? Of course you have. We fought all night long at Tianxian Gorge. You said that if it weren't for the divide of our nations, we would have become the best of friends. After I returned, I requested a decree from my father. As long as you married me, the two nations could cease hostilities and form a lasting alliance through marriage. My father agreed. And after sending word to your old emperor, he also agreed. I came to the Kingdom of An to seek your hand in marriage. During that time, you took me to see the lantern festivals of the Central Plains and even brought me to the outskirts of the capital to ride horses and hunt. You said you liked me and were willing to become my wife. Hearing this, I felt that these memories did exist in my mind. They seemed to be faintly struggling to surface. Then, why am I now Ji Yuxian's wife? That's because Ji Yuxian couldn't bear to let you go. He drugged you. And then you ended up having a child together. At the time, you were injured on the battlefield and your body was too weak to undergo an abortion. In the end, you had no choice but to marry him because of the pregnancy. In the end, he even tried to silence me. This scar on my face is from that time, and you told me yourself that Ji Yuxian would rather become a monk than be with you. Instantly, my head felt like it was about to explode. Before Song Yuanyao said the last sentence, I was still frantically making excuses for Ji Yuxian in my heart, because what he described was simply not the Ji Yuxian I had come to know during this time. But after he finished the last sentence, my mind suddenly went blank. That Shushu who only knows how to wield swords and spears, who would like her, marry her. I'd rather become a monk, Ji Yuxian and I grew up together as childhood friends, and this has always been our way of interacting. For every word he taunts me with, I have to retort with 10. When we first began to understand love, we probably weren't each other's ideal type, but despite not liking each other, we still got married and even had 2 children. I broke out in a cold sweat for no reason. Suddenly, realizing that what Song Yuanyao said might be true, Ji Yuxian really is the kind of person who would do anything out of sheer unwillingness to accept defeat. I froze in place, unable to move. Song Yuanyao walked over and hugged me. Sure, it's all right, I will always be by your side. Ji Yuxian, who had arrived belatedly, had just arrived and saw me and Song Yuanyao embracing each other. Prince Yao, you have entered my imperial garden and are holding my wife. I am very curious, is this how your country conducts itself as a guest? Ji Yuxian's voice was as cold as shards of ice. Are you threatening me? Song Yuanyao retorted defiantly. He was left speechless by Ji Yuxian's remark, his face turning ashen. I'm afraid that if your Hong Kingdom starts another war, you'll be utterly defeated. After a tense standoff, Song Yuanyao was the first to back down. He whispered in my ear, if you want to leave this place, I'll fight him to the end to take you away. With that, he turned and left for a moment. Only Ji Yuxian and I remained in the imperial garden. We stood in silence, staring at each other, and after what felt like an eternity, I made to walk past him. He nervously grabbed my arm. Where are you going? The sheer impact of this revelation made my already sluggish mind even more sluggish. Go check on the children, I said calmly. Ji Yuxian still didn't let go. He spoke with difficulty, his voice somewhat hoarse, as if he was struggling to hold something back. If you were really Shushu from 5 years ago, you would believe me, not listen to his nonsense. Ji Yuxian didn't know that every time he got nervous, his right hand would tremble uncontrollably. He was right. I am Shushu from 5 years ago, so my mind is finding 100, 1,000, 10,000 excuses for him. I don't know what he was thinking, but I held Tuanzi all night without sleeping, and I thought about many things. I know I can't just take Song Yuanyao's word for it. I want to investigate the truth myself. In the palace, everything I hear is only what Ji Yuxian wants me to hear. At first, Ji Yuxian wanted to talk to me, but when he saw that I had shut the palace doors and refused to see him, he didn't say anything more. Later, perhaps he gave up on our relationship and stopped coming to see me altogether, so I secretly left the palace through the dog hole that the big yellow dog had left behind when I was a child. I only said goodbye to Tuanzi and Yuanzi. I rode my horse back to the general's manor first. I climbed over the wall to get into the old mansion, which was no longer inhabited, but it was clear that someone still came to clean it regularly every month. I opened the door to my bedroom and began searching for my diary. Soon after, I found my diary from 5 years ago hidden in a secret compartment under my bed. The diary already showed signs of age, and I opened it to begin reading. The obsession of my youth had, from this moment, become a reality. It turned out that 5 years ago, I had briefly served as a female general, and I truly had someone I loved. That person was none other than Song Yuan Yao, whom I had met on the battlefield, first as adversaries, then as something more. After the imperial marriage proposal was rejected, everyone said Ji Yuxian already had someone in his heart and that he looked down on a woman like me, who only knew how to wield swords and spears. So after I refused the marriage proposal, I resolutely followed my father to the battlefield, where I shone brilliantly in the military camp and even caught the affection of the enemy prince. However, Ji Yuxian, unwilling to accept it, schemed to spend a wild night with me, and I ended up pregnant. This caused the relationship between Ji Yuxian and me to deteriorate drastically, turning from our previous bickering into genuine mutual torment. Those closely involved cannot see as clearly as those standing by. It feels as though I've experienced the events in the diary without reliving the specific details of the past. This has left me with an unusual sense of calm now. I don't entirely agree with some of the things I said back then, because Ji Yuxian was right. 5 years ago, Ji Yuxian and Shen Shushu were always each other's strongest support, so I need to start investigating from the point where Ji Yuxian set me up. I went to find Lin Luo, who was a close friend of both Ji Yuxian and me back then, with my questions. In my diary, I mentioned that during a palace banquet, I overheard a conversation between Lin Luo and Ji Yuxian. "If you like her, why don't you confess? She's too timid. I'm afraid she'll get scared off. Need some help, brother? I've got some good stuff here. Get lost." Later, that wild night with Ji Yuxian made me certain that he couldn't bear to let me go. When Lin Luo saw me, he didn't even know where to put his hands. "Your Majesty, the Empress." I ignored the address and asked him to sit down first. "I only have one question this time. That night with Ji Yuxian, did you really give him some special medicine back then?" Lin Luo was taken aback by my words and said anxiously, "Damn, Shen Shushu, since you came to ask me, how can you not trust me? I really didn't give that thing to Brother Ji Yu. You grew up with Brother Ji Yu since childhood. Don't you know what kind of person he is?" After hearing what he said, my heart, which had just settled, was suddenly lifted again. The one who drugged you was that bastard from the neighboring Hong Kingdom. At that time, you were under the influence of the drug, and it was Brother Ji Yu who saved you by offering himself. Shen Shushu, you can't just abandon him after taking advantage. Alright, you can shut up now. I blushed and told him to stop talking immediately. I remember back then, wasn't there a timid girl he liked? Do you have any clues? Since childhood, Brother Ji Yu has always been around you, bickering with you all day long. No other young lady ever received special treatment from him. Oh, right, I remember Brother Ji Yu wrote quite a few letters back then, but it seems none of them were ever sent. They were all kept hidden away. To be honest, all of us close friends thought for sure that Brother Ji Yu liked you, but you didn't believe it. Not only did you refuse the arranged marriage, but you also went off to the battlefield, and afterward, you became completely infatuated with that prince from the Rainbow Kingdom. Seeing that the final mystery was about to be solved, I had no interest in listening to his nonsense. After exchanging a few more words, I left directly. I crawled back through the dog hole. I ran all the way back to Guanju Palace and used the key Ji Yuxian had given me to open that sandalwood box. My hands were trembling as I opened it. I was afraid that what was inside would be exactly what I had imagined, that would make these 5 years of mutual torment nothing but a joke. But I was even more afraid that it wouldn't be. When I opened the box, I saw it was filled with hundreds of thick letters. "Shen Shushu, are you an idiot? Can't you even tell that I like her? Don't. They say I'm the smartest and most handsome man in the world. Why doesn't she like me? Why doesn't she like me? Why doesn't she like me? I'm really fed up. Why did that fool refuse the marriage arranged by my father? I was the one who begged him for it. I'm so angry. I'm so mad I'm going to become a monk. Shen Shushu. And then you won't have a husband anymore." Shen Shushu actually went to the battlefield just to avoid me. The first day without her, I miss her. The second day without Shen Shushu, I miss her. Before Shen Shushu even returned to the capital, the letter of peace and marriage proposal from the enemy emperor arrived. That old man's son actually wanted to marry Shen Shushu. In his dreams, don't even think about it. Shen Shushu has returned to the capital. She seems to have lost a lot of weight. And I heard she was injured. I sneaked a peek at her, but she was staring at that ugly prince from the Rainbow Kingdom the whole time and didn't even notice me. So mad, shush you, I want to marry you. You can only be my wife. I was afraid of scaring you away, so I didn't tell you earlier. You fool, shush you. My midnight dreams are all of you. I plan to have a good rest tonight and go explain everything to Jiu Shen the next day. Once everything was out in the open, we could start over. The imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel. When I opened my eyes in the Guanju Palace, I found myself in the side hall of the Eastern Palace. Oh no. Before I could even explain, Jiu Shen had already turned dark. The side hall was pitch black, with only a few scattered sparks of light. This was a place we wouldn't even come to play hide-and-seek as children, yet Jiu Shen had locked me in here. Jiu Shen stood not far from me. As soon as I lifted my hand after waking up, I heard the clinking of iron chains. Jiu Shen walked toward me, holding the chain. He had reverted to the way he was when I first met him, wild and unpredictable like the little wolf I once raised, ready to pounce at the slightest provocation. His bright yellow dragon robe was slightly disheveled, perhaps unchanged for days. There were faint dark circles under his eyes. The man sat beside me, raising his hand to gently stroke my cheek. Shush you, you have always been mine, but why are there always those who don't know their place, trying to take you away from me? I simply watched him quietly. He suddenly leaned in and kissed my lips, biting me before pulling away. Of course I wouldn't let him go. In just a moment, I flipped over and pinned him beneath me. Jiu Shen, do you want to be with me forever? Hearing my words, his eyes trembled, and one hand instinctively wrapped around my waist. I shook the chain in my hand, and the next moment, I slipped it around his wrist. In an instant, I pressed against him, our bodies so close that our breaths intertwined. Don't you want to be with me like this? As my voice, soft and seductive, filled the air, Jiu Shen's breathing grew increasingly rapid. I gently hooked my finger around his belt. Let go of me. I won't leave again. I promise you, I'll stay with you forever. I am your wife. At that moment, the man beneath her felt his heart racing uncontrollably. But soon, Song Yangchu realized a new problem. Wait, you, how did you become like this? I didn't let go of my arms around his neck and asked. I've finished reading all the letters in the box. Oh, I'm a timid fool. Then what are you? A bold idiot. Someone once said that only a flattering fool like Xiao Bai would like me. Wu tilde. Upon hearing this, Jiu Shen pinched his throat and imitated Xiao Bai's cries twice. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and asked the final question. You've only ever liked me, right, Jiu the fox? It's always only been you, foolish shush you. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.